What's up, guys? It's Teague from Battle City Games, and today we're back with another deck profile. Today we're looking at Metalfoes, another one of my favorite Pendulum decks. This one is a lot of fun because of how it mixes in fusion summoning along with the Pendulum mechanic. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. Let's go. Alright, so first up with our high scales, we do play three rare Metalfoes Bismugear. Bismugear is a great card to get in your scales because when it is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add a Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand during the end phase. And all the Metalfoes monsters are going to share the same Pendulum effect I'm about to read off. Once per turn, you can target one other face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, set one Metalfoes spell or trap directly from your deck. So every Metalfoes monster, that's going to be their Pendulum effect, so just keep that in mind. But Bismugear is great because when it's destroyed by, whatever effect, it'll guarantee that search during the end phase to give you some follow-up plays, or some potential plays during your opponent's turn as well. It is a level 1 as well, so it's one we definitely want to scale because we are not going to be Pendulum summoning it because of its level. Moving on from there, we also have triple Metalfoes Volflame. This is just a level 7 card for the deck. It is, again, same Pendulum effect. It's a normal monster, so it does not have a monster effect. We just want to play as many Metalfoes names as possible. And being a 2400 attack body is not too shabby. And then for the last high scale, we have triple Metalfoes Steal-In. 0 attack, 2100 defense, normal monster. Again, just a Metalfoes name, and that same Pendulum effect. Now moving into the low scales, we are going to start with one of the newest cards out of Blazing Vortex, Metalfoes Metalcaster. Metalcaster does actually have a monster effect that says if this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add one face-up Metalfoes Pendulum monster from your extra deck to your hand, except itself, but you cannot activate it or cards with its name to place it in the Pendulum zones for the rest of this turn except by card effect. And you can only use that effect once per turn, and then it has the same Pendulum effect as all the others. So what's important here is, while you cannot set the card in your Pendulum scale, you can summon it, however you want. So the idea is that it will recycle one of your Metalfoes back to your hand to allow you to Pendulum summon it out, meaning that you don't need to worry about having as many link errors available for when Pendulum summoning. Just a great all-around card, really kind of helps the deck out since you're able to recycle some of your names if you use it smartly. And also a level 7, 2000 attack, 2500 defense, not too shabby. And then for the next low scale, we have the classic Metalfoes Gold Driver. This is the level 4 option for the deck. Again, it's a normal monster, so no effect, but that 1900 attack is pretty nice, as he can definitely get in there for some damage if you need him to. And again, same Pendulum effect. And then for the last Metalfoes monster in the main deck, we have triple Silverid. This is your level 3 option. Again, it's a normal monster, but 1700 defense or attack against one of your more offensively capable Metalfoes monsters, so you do want to keep that in mind. And then for the other Pendulum monsters in the main deck, we have triple Magical Abductor. Spoiler, we're playing Magician's Souls in this build, and Abductor just easily lets you search out the souls because of the way the Metalfoes cards work. You can easily scale them, destroy them, and scale another to quickly get her up to 3 counters to remove and add a level 1 spellcaster type monster from your deck to your hand. Maybe I should clarify, we're going to be mainly using her for her monster effect. We don't really want to use the Pendulum effect, but we can put her in scale if we absolutely have to. And then for some of our other options, we do have the 1 Mythical Beast Jackal King, and I am playing 1 Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver. These are your options to send off of your Magician Souls. Jackal King's pretty self-explanatory. He's a spellcaster, he's level 6. You just send him, revive him, and activate some spell cards to set up monster negates. Odd Eyes Dissolver is an interesting card that I like because his monster effect actually says that you can fusion summon using himself and cards from your Pendulum zone to fusion summon a monster. And since he is a Odd Eyes monster, we can actually use him to get into a Vortex Dragon, which I'll go into a little more depth once we get to the extra deck. But just a great option to send off of souls to extend your combos. And then for the last two Pendulum monsters in the deck, we are playing the Scout combo with one Scout and one Monolith. Scout is just a free Cyber Dragon Infinity, which allows you to play around Nibiru if you open with Summoner's Art or your Scout. As you search Monolith, use Metalfoes to get Scout out of your scale, and then when you Pendulum summon, you can bring out Scout from your extra deck and Monolith from your hand. Moving into the other monsters in the main deck, the last ones are going to be the triple Magician Souls that I mentioned earlier. I know it's pricey, hopefully we get a reprint soon, guys, but this card really does help out Metalfoes a lot because of its ability to send spells and traps in order to draw you cards. Again, I'll explain that when we get to the trap section, but the idea is you can use your Metalfoes effects to set certain spells and traps, and then use souls to cycle them to draw cards. And it's just a free body on board as well, which helps you get into your Link summons. Like I said, I know it's pricey, but if you have access to them, I really recommend playing them in the deck. Moving into the spells now, we do have triple Summoner's Art. Like I said, your Volflame is a level 7 normal monster, and then you have your Cleafort Scout and Monolith, so you do have plenty of search options for your Summoner's Art. Usually you're going to be going for a Scout unless you hard drew it, in which case you can just search for Volflame as an additional Metalfoes name. But just a good card to add some consistency to the deck and get you into that Cyber Dragon Infinity play as often as possible. I also chose to go with triple Unexpected Die. This can be a little cloggy late in the game if you happen to draw into it after you've already summoned, but you definitely want to get monsters to your board as quickly as possible, ideally before you have to Pendulum summon, so that you can open up some additional zones. Because a lot of your Metalfoes will be putting themselves in the extra deck, you want to make sure you have some link zones to summon them to. And since it can bring out any of your level 4 or lower Metalfoes monsters that are normal, it can also be used to give you some additional fusion options. And again, since so many of our Metalfoes are normal monsters, we're playing double Painful Decision. Just allows you to send a level 4 or lower normal monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then add one card with the same name as that card from your deck to your hand. So it's just a search option to get some Metalfoes to your hand to make sure you have enough to go through your plays. And then for our Metalfoes fusion cards, we have one of the classic Metalfoes fusion, one full Metalfoes fusion, the quick play, and one of the newer Parametalfoes fusions. So explaining these in sequence, Metalfoes fusion is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a normal fusion spell card, but with the added ability that if it's in your graveyard, you can put it back in your deck and draw a card once per turn. This is useful for two reasons. One, it just helps cycle you into your deck a little bit more. And two, it guarantees that you will not run out of Metalfoes cards to search off of your effects. So if you need to use your scale abilities to destroy something, you have a guaranteed search target. Full Metalfoes fusion is just a quick play, which actually comes up to allow you for some disruption plays during your opponent's turn, which I will explain in the extra deck portion. And then Parametalfoes fusion, being the new one, is actually really cool. It allows you to fusion summon a Metalfoes fusion monster by using up to one monster each from your hand, field, and or face-up extra deck as fusion material. Meaning that once you've popped a Metalfoes monster, maybe something like your Bismugear that cannot be Pendulum summoned anyway, you can actually use a monster from your extra deck as material, and it'll just go to the graveyard from there. So again, it's just an easy fusion option because once you've gone through everything, maybe you have one card left in your hand and one in your extra deck, or maybe one spare Metalfoes left on your field. You can use this to get you that additional fusion summon. Just a great resource to have. And then for the last spell card in the deck, we have one Emergency Teleport. All your Metalfoes are psychic monsters, and Silverid, Steelin, and Bismugear are all level 3 or lower, meaning they are all targets for Emergency Teleport. And then for the last two cards in the deck, we have two Metalfoes combination. This is what you're really going to be looking to combine with your Magician's Souls. Metalfoes combination says that if it's sent from your field to the graveyard, you can add a Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand. So the idea is you use your Metalfoes effects to destroy themselves or other cards. You set both of your combinations directly from your deck, and when you use Soul's ability, send both combinations. Souls will allow you to draw 2 cards, and then combination will allow you to search 2 Metalfoes cards directly from your deck. So it essentially turns Souls into a draw 4. If you resolve that, you're rarely losing the game because of all the advantage that you get off of them. That's going to do it for the main deck, guys. We are at 42 cards. I know usually I talk about 40 cards for consistency, but there's several cards you don't really want to draw. Ideally, you want to be searching your Metalfoes spell and traps, not drawing them. So going a little bit higher on the deck count doesn't really hurt in this case. Moving on into the extra deck, we have 2 full Metalfoes Alcahest. This is your primary fusion you're going to be looking to go into on turn 1, as it does allow for disruption during your opponent's turn. It just takes a Metalfoes monster plus 1 normal monster, which, again, your Cleaveforts are normal, as well as most of your Metalfoes are normal monsters. Must be fusion summoned, cannot be special summoned other ways. Once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 effect monster on the field, equip that target to this card, and then this card gains defense equal to the combined original attack of the monsters equipped to it by this effect. And you can use monsters you control equipped to this card as fusion material for a fusion summon of a Metalfoes fusion monster that lists them as material. So what we're really looking at here is it's basically a relinquish or Thousand Eyes effect to target one of your opponent's monsters and suck it up and equip it so it can disrupt your opponent's board that way. And if he does stick around till your turn, if one of those monsters meets your fusion criteria, you can use it as a material. Just a great disruption effect to have on your opponent's turn. And it's important to note that the ability to steal a monster is not actually any sort of hard once per turn. So if you get 2 of these out, which is fairly easy to do, they will both be able to activate in the same turn. Moving on from there, we have 2 Metalfoes Mithrilium. Mithrilium takes a Metalfoes monster plus any Pendulum monster, and then has the ability that you can target 2 Metalfoes cards in your graveyard and 1 card on the field. Shuffle the targets from your graveyard into the deck, and if you do, return the target on the field to the hand. You can only use that effect once per turn, and if she is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a Metalfoes Pendulum monster from your graveyard or face up extra deck. So this is just a good way that you can recycle some of your spells and traps. If you have used like your Para-Metalfoes or your full Metalfoes fusion, Mithrilium will allow you to put them back as well as bounce a card on your opponent's field. And even if she's used as link material, that second effect will trigger, so keep that in mind as well. Then for the last Metalfoes fusion monster, we have one of the new Para-Metalfoes Azortless. This is a Pendulum fusion monster. So the Pendulum effect says if a face-up Metalfoes card or cards you control is destroyed by card effect, you can target 1 face-up card on the field, destroy it. You can only use that effect once per turn. And then the fusion criteria is 1 Metalfoes monster plus 1 fusion monster. And if this card is special summoned from the extra deck, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, shuffle 2 face-up Pendulum monsters from your extra deck into the deck, and if you do, destroy that card. That is a hard once per turn. And then if this card in a monster zone is destroyed, you can place it in your Pendulum zone. So we do have ways to summon this during our opponent's turn with something like full Metalfoes fusion, the quick play, using any of our Metalfoes monsters and one of our fusion monsters, maybe an Alcahest that's already used its ability. And that destruction on summon effect will activate, allowing for another disruption. 2500 attack, not too shabby either. And if you are citing something like super polymerization, this can be a great option if you know your opponent is maybe playing like a Dragoons focused deck as well, since you could super poly the Dragoons as the fusion material. For the last fusion monster, we have the one Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. So like I said, Odd Eyes Vortex only requires 1 Odd Eyes monster plus any Pendulum monster. So when you use your souls, if you send your Odd Eyes Dissolver, and then use your Salim that you'll see in a moment to summon back your Vortex Dragon, to summon back your Dissolver, you can then activate Dissolver's effect to fusion summon using itself and 1 card from your scale to make the Vortex Dragon. And the way you want to do that is usually you'll do all of your plays, and then once you've already Pendulum summoned, you can use Dissolver to use a card in your scale since you won't need it anymore. which is just a quick, easy way to get into Vortex Dragon. I like that route better than overlaying for Absolute Dragon, because it requires a little bit less in terms of you don't need the second level 7 monster, you don't need to overlay into Absolute Dragon, so it also saves you some extra deck space. Then moving on into our Link monsters, we have one of the new Heavy Metalfoes Amalgam. Just takes 2 Metalfoes monster, and then it says if this card is sent from the monster zone to the graveyard by a card effect, you can activate one of these effects. Target 1 Metalfoes monster you control, equip this card to it, and it gains 1,000 attack. We don't really care about that. Or target 1 Metalfoes card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special summon this card. And you can only use that effect once per turn. He does have left and right arrows, so obviously we're not really looking to keep him in the extra monster zone. The idea is you link summon him out, then use one of your scales to destroy him, and then use his ability to destroy one of your other Metalfoes cards, and he'll summon himself back to a main monster zone, giving you 2 additional zones to link summon to. And 2,000 body, not too bad. We then have 1 Cross Sheep. You'll be doing a lot of fusion summoning in the deck, so if you make Cross Sheep and then summon to the zone he points to, you can use the fusion ability to special summon back a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. Again, just giving you some additional extension plays. We do have 1 IP Masquerena as a Link 2 option, easy to get into and allows for more disruption during your opponent's turn. Speaking of that disruption, we have the Nightmare Unicorn. Use Masquerena to go into this during your opponent's turn, and then discard a card to bounce a card. And then for our other Link 3, we do have Selene, Queen of Master Magicians. You'll be using your Magician Souls or your Pendulum Magician card, whose name is escaping me. But you'll be using one of those two to go into your Selene, and then she'll get her counters. And like I said, you'll usually use her to bring back either Jackal Knight for some disruption or Odd Eyes Dissolver to allow you to fusion summon. Then for our Link 4 options, we have the 1 Appaloosa and the 1 Access Code Talker. Appaloosa is just very easy to get into in any Pendulum deck. You can usually get her out with a couple negates. Access Code Talker, as usual, he's just an OTK enabler, guys. But as always, don't worry if you don't have him. Just substitute him out with a Boral Sword, Boral Load, as some additional OTK options. And then for the last 2 cards in the extra deck, we have the 1 Cyber Nova Dragon and the 1 Cyber Dragon Infinity. Nova just takes 2 level 5 machine monsters, which Scout and Monolith are both level 5. So it's super easy to use Scout to get Monolith and then get into Nova, and then you just overlay your Infinity on top of Nova for free to give you a quick, easy negate to make sure you can set up as many disruptions as possible. And usually you can get the Infinity out by your 5th summon to prevent the Nibiru from hitting you and disrupting your plays. And that's actually going to do it for the deck, guys. Like I said, I really love Metalfoes. It's such a cool concept to mix fusion summoning with Pendulum summoning so heavily, and the artwork on these guys is honestly absolutely amazing. But let me know what you think of the deck overall down in the comments. Metalfoes used to be a really popular archetype, but obviously with Electromite banned and being probably the best Metalfoes card, it does impact him a little bit, but nonetheless, it's a very fun deck. As always, I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Till next time, I'm T with Battle City Games.